Unfortunately, all the rumors of the massive Xbox layoffs were in fact true, as many people today lost their jobs or are in the process of losing their jobs because Microsoft can't even fire people properly. It's just an absolute total bonker situation that's going on over there. And I'm going to put together as much as I know as of this date and time, 6:32 p.m. Eastern, to talk about everything that I have seen come out today and kind of what it means for the future of Xbox and what it means for a lot of these games and studios that we had hopefully got to see something from, but looks like that isn't the case anymore. Before I get into today's video, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. I don't like doing these videos. I really don't. But I think it's important because my role at work now with program management involved largely with resourcing and staffing and making sure that people are gainfully employed and making sure that programs have the right resources to execute and eliminating roadblocks so that smart people much smarter than me, can do the job they need to do. And when you get into micromanagement and you get into competing priorities and when you get into an unclear direction, the team waffles. And unfortunately, in my role, that means that I have to take the brunt of the responsibility. Usually, sometimes I get the accolades like, hey, you guys did a great job. But the reality is 9 times out of 10 when things go wrong, program management is to blame. And I accept that role. I don't take it lightly. It's a big deal. Well, game development is absolutely no different either, right? Game development requires you to have a clear leader and a clear vision and a clear direction. And today, Phil Spencer, the lead of Xbox, the main man, the guy who's in charge of everything, sent an email out today that was kind of leaked and passed through. I'm not going to read all of it here, but I just want to highlight a few things. Matt Booty actually sent an email. We'll take a look at that, and then we'll take a look at some of the closures and what it means. Phil writes, today we are sharing decisions that will impact colleagues across our organization to position gaming for enduring success and allowing us to focus on strategic growth areas. We will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. Out of respect for those impacted today, the specifics of today's notifications and any organizational shifts will be shared by your team leaders in the coming days. So, first and foremost, Phil is saying, hey, listen, we're going to let people go, but we're not even going to tell you the impact of it yet. Out of respect for the people, we're going to let them slowly find out, which is a horrible way to do things. Not that there needs to be a cut list, but these directions and decisions need to be made clear and upfront by management. And Phil, being the leader of the leaders, should take full responsibility to explain to people, hardworking people who just less than a month ago were being praised in all these development studios and how the breadth and depth of this is an Xbox and everything, how great that was. Well, that message seems to be lost very, very quickly. And the reality is, layoffs are never easy and downsizing is never easy. And you have to be cognizant and mindful of it and understand that the morale of the remaining workforce is going to be heavily, heavily impacted. So, it's difficult. It is a difficult place to be. I'm not saying Phil sat around and said, hey, let's ruin, I don't know how many people, 10,000 people's lives today, whatever it was. Let's impact all those people who have jobs and families and responsibilities outside of this organization. And let's just, let's ruin their July 2nd. I don't think that happened, but I think a lot of this has to do with decisions Phil made, a lot of promises that he made to his management about the vision and the success of what Game Pass was and the Activision sale that was supposed to basically radically, change the landscape of gaming. Those bills have to be cashed. Those bills have to be paid, right? Those checks have to be cashed. And this is how you do it. You have to let people go. Your best resource is people, but your most expensive resource is people. So if you can let go a team or shut down an organization entirely, you will save significant amount of money. Now, when we do our spend plans at work, the number one priority we have is people. So we will be the last thing is to manage ourselves before we start doing cuts. We will do our best to cut programs first. I understand in this position that fills in some of those programs are backed by people, and obviously you can't have people on overhead. But if you gave people a specific task or gave them the autonomy to go off and build their own program or to build their own process, right? To go off and do something, you have to respect and validate they have time to do it. So you can't say, hey, go off studio and go find us a fun new game. I'm sure it gets some sort of sales pitch. It gets greenlit, right? But they know that this is coming. So an example like Perfect Dark, which we'll talk about in a moment, somebody came up to them and said, hey, I have an idea. I want to reboot Perfect Dark. This is the kind of game I want. This is the engine I want. They probably put together like a little trailer, a little storyboard, whatever. I need a team of 100 people and I need 5 years to get this game done, whatever it happens to be. And then management, maybe not Phil directly, but somebody within his management chain says, yeah, okay, I like that. Let's go ahead and start it. And then let's set up monthly or quarterly, whatever it is, progress reports, show us the progress of the game. Let's talk about things. But you start off under that direction. These games that I'm about to show you revealed years ago never came to fruition. Now, why? Was it because that the game studio sucked? If that is the case, then I could argue that maybe these layoffs were somewhat justified. You're letting go of organizations that are just dead weight. And let's face it, every organization has people that just kind of suck that need to be let go. You just don't always have A performers. And you might have people who are just mediocre, or a team of mediocre people, or led by mediocre people who just can't seem to get things done. They start falling behind their deadlines. They start changing, timelines start to slip and that sort of thing. Okay, that could happen. I don't think this is that case, though. It could be. I don't know, though. Obviously, this is all hearsay, rumor, speculation, but a lot of these projects were seemingly well on their way through development. Microsoft has a history of doing this as well, where they basically have, hyped up a game studio and shut them down, like Hi-Fi Rush. Perfect example. We're going to release a great game and it's going to just do wonderful things, and then we're going to let people go anyway. So that's Phil's take on everything. Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Game Studios, also wrote out a message. He confirmed that both Everwild and Perfect Dark were going to be shutting down, as were other projects as well. So he followed on to his boss's lead, and he said he wants to share change in the organization. We've made the decisions to stop the development of Perfect Dark and of Everwild, as well as wind down several unnamed projects across our portfolio. So the initiative will be closing down as a result of this. But hey, look, everybody, we still have 40 projects in development. Hopefully one of the ones that you were working on didn't get cut. But hey, listen, thanks for all the hard work you guys do. And I believe the strength of our teams are great. Well, if the strength of your teams are so great, you're probably not going to lay off all those people now, are you? So Perfect Dark was announced. This was back in 2024, just a year ago. And this is what worries me. Let me turn my camera off for a second. This is what worries me about these kind of announcements and these... I turned the sound off so there's no copyright stuff. But this is what kind of worries me about this, right? Just a year ago, this was part of the Xbox Game Showcase. They showed off a extensive, 3.5 minute trailer. This is gameplay. This isn't one of those like burner sizzle reels where you're basically just looking at CGI. I mean, maybe heavily influenced by CGI, of course, or, played by the golden path. But this looks like gameplay to me. This doesn't look like something that was just kind of thrown together. It might just be one level, the infamous vertical slice that we like to say, where it's just a small snippet of what the game was meant to be. But here you have gameplay of a game less than a year later is shut down and deleted. And this looks like it's pretty far along to me. This doesn't look like it's something that, they just started with. I mean, this has clearly got some animation and some user interface and sound effects, which you obviously can't hear, and voiceovers and all these kind of mechanics that were put into place. Now, does that mean that this game can be salvaged by another studio? I mean, potentially. It'd be kind of silly to shut down a studio just to turn around and reuse the assets. I mean, Overwatch did it somewhat successfully with Project Titan that shut down. But the reality is, games like this, they're very stylized. I don't know how much of this you do get to reuse. So think of all the development time and money that went into this. What made Microsoft think that they needed to show off a 3-minute trailer to hype this up, to talk about, merchandise and potential pre-order culture and coming to Game Pass and hype up that service to then only less than a year later, not only shut down the game, but shut down the studio making the game. That is absolutely just wild to me. And I cannot believe that they did this and that they got away with this. And that just really, really scares me, because here you have a culture that is based around this, hey, you're good. I mean, going back to what Matt Booty's email says, hey, listen, we have 40 games that are 40 different games and studios, all these things are in development. Well, yeah, you know what? Perfect Dark was probably one of those games that was hyped up as, hey, we're fine. And all the people working on that game thought everything was good. They probably don't think that now. Now, in contrast, we do have Everwild. Now, Everwild was a Rare game, and Rare has been struggling to find their footing. I think Sea of Thieves is an example of a sort of success story, although it took a long time to find their footing. But Everwild was announced back in 2019 by Microsoft. This was really not much to show here. This was a very heavy CGI trailer, very Rare-esque graphics. We didn't even know what the gameplay was, the story was. Was it single player, multiplayer? Are you hunting birds? Are you a bird? Nobody knows, right? It didn't really make a whole lot of sense. There's a lot of nature and animals and that sort of thing. And it's like, okay, this could be potentially something neat. The game was rebooted a couple times, never really seemed to take off. And ultimately, it was decided, 6 years later, 6 years of sinking money into this project to say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and we are going to shut all of that down, which that one makes a little more sense to me. But again, Microsoft, very inconsistent. I showed those two games specifically to show you a game that was heavily promoted and featured 1 year ago is on the same footing as a game that kind of became vaporware 6 years ago. Like, what's going on with that? That's very, very scary. That's very, very scary for Microsoft's culture. And that's very, very scary for what is kind of Microsoft is turning into. So how we've been getting all this news is through Jason Schreier. I follow him on Blue Sky. He's actually the reason I wouldn't say I jumped ship from Twitter to Blue Sky, but I love Jason's reporting. I think he's a very, very honest and fair reporter. And he's been basically blue skying. I don't think they call it a tweet over here. I don't know what they call it. He's been basically writing through all day in kind of real time all the updates. So mass layoffs at Xbox have started. This was 9 hours ago. So this was about 9 a.m. Eastern on July 2nd. Candy Crush maker King said they were cutting 10% of their staff. Bethesda's Europe offices were hit too, and U.S. offices are going to start coming soon. And then he announced the Everwild, which we talked about. The news is coming in drips. We're not sure why Xbox didn't announce it all at once, but he'll report what he can as he gets. So again, he talks about, what we were talking about. We didn't know what was going on. And remember, you got to think, if you're an employee at Xbox, you're just doing your job. You're working. You're hearing about there's this potential rumor of potential layoffs, but you go to work anyway because you don't report. You're trying not to go off rumor speculation. Phil's email comes out a couple hours later. Matt Booty's email comes out, and studios are slowly being targeted. So I would bet productivity is about 0% today, as everybody's constantly probably following Jason and other reporters trying to hear what's going on, right? So not very, very good. We find out some hours later that ZeniMax Online Studios, who makes Elder Scrolls Online, a game that I am a recovering addict from, by the way, has been canceled. That was a new MMORPG project they were working. It was codenamed Blackbird. It's been in development since 2018. So yet another game. So we had Perfect Dark a year ago, hot new thing. Everwild 2019. Elder Scrolls Online replacement or follow-on game, codenamed Blackbird, since 2018. Those guys get slammed too. An illustration of just how sloppy and chaotic Xbox has been. Employees at ZeniMax are now watching their Slack accounts and getting locked out of Slack. No message from HR, no word on whether or not they still have a job, just the fact that their Slack accounts is being turned off. Then we find out that subsidiaries are getting hit. Call of Duty Studios, Raven, Forza Motorsport, 50% of its staff. So this isn't just these kind of games that may be good or not. Like Everwild, I don't know. Is it going to, would Everwild have been the game of the year? It might have been like one of those indie darlings, right? Nobody knows. Perfect Dark probably would have had a lot of traction. And anything ZeniMax touches, I mean, it is, used to be at least branded as the Xbox Bethesda game showcase. They have their own specific allocated piece of all this. ZeniMax, obviously their parent company. You would think that anything they touch should go to gold, right? But then you have Raven, part of Call of Duty's team, this big, massive buyout. We're going to let the team go. And everybody knows Forza Motorsport, the last one, didn't really move the needle as much as it should. So they responded by eliminating half of the team. Jason Schreier then reports we already talked about. The long-troubled Project Perfect Dark is closed, and the entire studio, known as the Initiative, will shut down. So Initiative is completely gone. ZeniMax told their staff that MMO Project Blackbird was canceled and deactivated accounts to Slack. Hours later, team members still have no idea if they have jobs. They can still get into their email and Teams, but they have not yet heard from HR or from management. That was the last thing he reported as of 4 hours ago. What an absolute shame and travesty. And I just, my heart goes out to people, but I go back to the same thing I have said on my channel now for going on probably 5 years. You got to let Phil Spencer go. You got to let him go. This is an absolute problem in management. This is not a clear message. This is not a clean message. Microsoft didn't just wake up today and decide they were doing this. This was something that has been planned and formulated for time. This was looking through cut lists and projects and sorting and racking and stacking everything. This was a massive undertaking. It probably took them 3 to 4 months to put this plan together, and the execution has been nothing short of a travesty, as a lot of people are still probably in limbo as to what is going on. The cuts don't make a whole lot of sense. You had a game in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which was kind of this poster child of the Game Pass. Of, hey, listen, we're going to bring all the Call of Duty games over to Game Pass. You need to get into this, right? A lot of partnerships going on right now with Activision Blizzard to bring in more characters like Beavis and Butthead. I don't know, all these weird crossovers. Like, I guess Call of Duty is still popular. I've given up on it a long time ago. But you would got to think that they're making some good dough there, right? Well, Raven, who just made the game, hey, let's all celebrate. Nope, we're going to let you guys go, man. Then you have all these other smaller projects and these unnamed studios, and it just goes back to unclear message and branding. Where's guys like Aaron Greenberg? Have they kind of faded off the radar? I know Major Nelson, Larry Herb, and Aaron Greenberg were part of it. I have always speculated that management team, I know Major Nelson has since exited the pattern, so to speak, living his best life as I don't know what he's doing now, some new effort he's on. But I've always kind of thought that upper office, your Sarah Bonds, your Phil Spencers, your Matt Booties, your Aaron Greenbergs, I think that chain, right? They're largely responsible for a lot of these decisions, or funnels into them, or they have some direct input into it. And I got to say that this whole transformation of Xbox going from console to a service has been messy at best. The idea of, is Xbox even a brand anymore? Are they making a new console? Their big reveal was a new Call of Duty game, the one more announcement. They're partnering with ROG to try to make a competitor to Steam Deck. They just seem to be all over the place. And this is exactly, and this is what this means, right? Management, again, how I started this video is how I'm going to end it. Clear direction, clear objectives, task and purpose, task and purpose. That's what we do. That's what we've always done as managers. And we make sure that people know what they're doing. And we put in proper gates to make sure progress is going along. This is just like, I don't know what's going on. This is like the whole structure, the great chain of being, whatever you want to call it, is completely dissolved. It is an absolute disaster on Microsoft's part. And you can't look at this and be proud of the brand. And you can't look at this as an employee and be happy for what you're doing. And I got to imagine the people that remain unscathed from this latest salvo are probably looking for new jobs right now because they're not confident in what they've seen. And these false narratives that you're getting from Matt and Phil don't mean anything. Clearly, we just showed you examples of that. It's just an absolute shame what's going on. And all I can think is that you got to look at the management. People aren't funding their own projects. Some guy doesn't get hired at Rare and say, hey, I am just doing this. I don't care what management says. I'm making a game called Everwild, and I'm just going to sit in an office for 6 years and slowly chip away at it and just eat company funds and go down to the lab and use the big Microsoft think tank to go ahead and make my own game. And I don't care how long it takes me to make it. No, that doesn't work. Someone's got to sign that dude's paycheck. Someone's got to authorize that guy to get those resources and that team together. And you're just looking at the management going up, and eventually it comes to a point. The point being Phil Spencer. And I just got to believe that this whole organization is just doomed because you have a failed leader who is just implementing failed policies. And you're seeing it in different bursts. Maybe studios are trying their best to salvage what they have. Why was Perfect Dark a failure? Why was Everwild a failure? Why was the new ZeniMax game shut down after 6 years in development? All that money and time. Couldn't you have made a different game by then? Where are games like where's this Halo 10-year plan? Where's the new where's the new Gears of War game? I know that's coming out, I think, next year. It's just a disaster. And it's just like all the pieces are in place. You have a massive software company that knows how to make software. You have a loyal, very, very dedicated brand of people who are willing to continue to invest, I don't know why, and care in this product. And you just can't seem to get the stars to align. And it's just an absolute disaster. What an absolute shame and a travesty for Xbox. And it's just, as somebody who deals with this on a daily basis as part of their job, it's depressing to see because this is just textbook poor management. That's really what it comes down to. There's no secret initiative. Yes, there are competition in Switch and in PlayStation and in PC gaming and all that sort of thing, right? That's always going to exist. But that didn't change overnight. The culture of this organization is corrupt and it's broken. And this is a result of what happens. And until Microsoft's management, Phil has a boss. There's always the next guy up in line. Until the boss is just dialed in on what's going on, this is not normal business. You don't have record profits for a company and then chunk out 10,000, whatever jobs it ends up being. You just don't do that. You don't let a team work on something for 6 years and get zero return on investment. That just doesn't make sense. None of this makes any sense. Help me make it make sense. I can't wrap my brain around it. It's an absolute disaster. And I think for the people that impacted the most, of course, my heart goes out for you guys. I've been laid off twice. Trust me, it sucks. It hurts. It really hurts. I hope you guys land on your feet soon. And I hope that you go to a studio or a company that is more appreciative of your time and more interested in your development and doesn't set you up for failure. And unfortunately, all those big names I mentioned, they have the golden parachute. They're fine. I don't think they realize or care or are too stupid to understand the amount of damage they've done, the generational damage they have caused, going back to Don Matrick, of how bad the problem has gotten, and it continues to compound and get worse and worse and worse. And bad decision after bad decision has led to where we are today. And I don't think it's over for Microsoft yet until they do a radical reorganization of how that company is run, until you can empower people to make better decisions with their resources, and until you can get a more clear direction from management. I think the studio is going to continue to be in this very volatile state. And what does that mean? Well, it means not good games, and the games suffer. And companies like PlayStation and Nintendo are just sitting there going, great, bring them over. We'll be ready. And I jumped ship to Sony many, many years ago. I don't regret it at all. I haven't turned my Xbox on in a very, very long time. And news like this doesn't make me want to support Game Pass. News like this doesn't make me want to go play my Xbox. It makes me sad and it makes me mad that studio has gotten into the situation they're in now. So that'll wrap up my video. I know I went long today. There's a lot of pieces and emotions to kind of process in all this. And I'm sure there'll be more stuff coming out. Like I said, it's been drip feeding all day. I'm sure we'll get a much more massive detailed report from Jason in the next week or so as he puts together all the pieces of what's going on. But just a horrible day for gaming. And it makes me sad as a gamer, as somebody who's been playing games for 37 years now, somebody who loves video games, who it means a lot to me. My channel is dedicated to this. And it's just sad to see such poor allocation of resources and such horrible management. Phil, I know you're not watching this. I don't know how many people made it to the end of a 24-minute video, but man, you got to go. You got to go. That'll wrap up today's video. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side. Bye-bye.